That disembodied
All
hand.
right.
there it is.
All right, good morning and welcome to the August 22nd, Delaware County Council meeting. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jane, could you kick us off?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Present.
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Here.
Mr. Webb.
Here.
Mr. Whitehead.
Present.
Mr. Piper.
Here.
Mr. Freeman.
Here.
All right, and as a reminder, questions from the public may be directed to County Council dist@co.delaware.in.us. Again, that's County Council dist@co.delaware.in.us. Denise, has the agenda been posted?
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Eugene. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. All right, now I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the July 2025 council meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Eugene, second by Dan. Roll call, please.
Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. All right, moving right along, we'll go on to the transfer agenda, please.
Okay, we start out in County General, under Jail, 145. We have D, 127, negative 13,945.20. E, 127, positive 13,945.20. B, 135, Corporal, negative 16 cents. A, 122, Correctional Officer, negative 4,901.35. C, 126, Correctional Officer, negative $293.60. C, 135, Corporal, negative 6,936.54. C, 147, Correctional Officer, negative $500.08. D, 102, negative 1,153.88. D, 120, negative 148.77. D, 125, negative $760.88. D, 151, negative $250.08. D, 153, negative $148.77. E, 114, I'm totally not reading the name, I'm sorry. Correctional Officer, negative 123.86. E, 115, Correctional Officer, negative 3,578.01. E, 131, Correctional Officer, negative $500. F, 119, Correctional Officer, negative 917.42. F, 132, Correctional Officer, negative $130.13. G, 132, Correctional Officer, negative 5,138.42. G, 161, Cook, negative $454.21. H, 108, Corporal, negative $1,045.20. H, 140, Correctional Officer, negative $22.94. H, 161, Cook, negative $2,959.35. I, 140, Correctional Officer, negative $147.20. J, 140, Correctional Officer, negative $5,050.08. C, 143, Correctional Officer, positive $250.02. 196, holiday, holiday overtime, positive $20,000. 197, overtime, positive $14,910.91. Total, zero. I'm like
Motion to-
winded.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. By the way, all of the transfers, received a favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Do we have any questions?
I do have a quick question, if nobody else has any. Morning.
Good morning.
So I was looking through the budget for this year, and, I remember last year we had a similar situation, and I asked the question, if it's holiday overtime, why do we need more money in holiday overtime? Because our our holidays are preset. We already know how many people are working. We know how much hours we're gonna need. And last year, they said we're gonna add $20,000 to it because we're gonna have, I think, an extra holiday this year. So we've added the $20,000 to it this year, and now here's $20,000 more for it on this. So why is it
The time was actually a
$40,000?
misnomer. Holiday overtime meaning it's the time and a half rate, whatever. So not necessarily is all holiday, it's not all holiday overtime. If they're earning something at time and a half rate elsewhere, it can still come out of this line. But also, what we have to take into account is that the pay raises also, when they're working these holidays, is a whole lot more than what it had been in the past. So all of that combined together is putting me in the spot where we're just not having enough money.
Well, I like the explanation about the pay raises. That makes sense. The holiday thing seems a little misleading to me. Why don't we just call it overtime?
However you want to do it. I mean, I
Sure.
can throw it all in one line. That works for me.
So what you're
But-
saying is it can just be used out of that line to pay for regular overtime?
If it has to be, yes.
Okay, I appreciate you clarifying that. And then the overtime, how far you think this will get you?
Till about October when I do this again.
That's what I was afraid you
I
were
might as well
gonna
be
say.
honest. I mean, I don't want to have to come back and ask for money. And when we have spots that aren't being filled and we're down, it just, we don't have any choice but to pay overtime and force people to stay, so.
Well, I mean, just from all these open positions that you pulled the money from says, I guess it kind of explains it. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to explain it and kind of refreshing everybody for it, so thank you.
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Prosecutor, 137. B, 115, Deputy Prosecutor, negative $6,045. Part-time, 198, positive $6,045. B, 113, Deputy Prosecutor, negative $25,314.09. C, 113, Deputy Prosecutor, positive $25,314.09. Total, 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions?
I do have one quick one. Could you tell me what's part-time in this? Could you explain what the part-time is?
Yes, good morning, Lisa Carr, Prosecutor's Office. We have a certified legal intern that has taken the bar and is waiting for her bar results. And so we would like to hire her if she passes the bar. She's volunteered in our office for 3 years, every summer, and is currently volunteering in our office.
What's she gonna be hired in as?
If she passes the bar as a prosecutor.
So this is just to kind of supplement her volunteer time until she gets her results to be brought on full-time, correct?
That is correct.
Tell her thanks for the volunteering.
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Public Defenders, 139. We have B, 155, Public Defender, negative $193. A, 155, Public Defender, positive $193. 326, Investigator Fees, negative $2,500. 312, Court Ordered Attorneys, positive $2,500, total 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel. Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
All right, moving on.
Okay, next is Sheriff, 129. We have 004 Clothing Allowance, negative $750. B, 103 Deputy, negative $924.12. B, 104 Captain, negative $2,023.06. B, 112 Deputy, negative $102.78. B, 120, deputy, negative 2,784.68. B, 136, deputy, negative $2,054. B, 148, door bailiff, negative 6,319.07. C, 103, deputy, negative 7,291.64. C, 129, deputy, negative $207.98. C, 137, deputy, negative $2,054. D, 110, sergeant, negative $697.44. A, 155, door bailiff, positive $527 even. 197, overtime, positive $24,681.77, total zero.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. This is pretty much similar to the jail transfer we just did above. So any questions?
I have a couple real fast.
Sure.
So on these are a little bit different than salaries, the numbers are a lot smaller. What exactly are they being transferred for?
Well, again, they've had some serious situations where it's taken a lot more overtime, with people getting called in from their teams or whatever, but, we've had a lot of different officers that have moved. We've had some promotions happen, so people going into the new promotions had less time than the guys that had been there. So I won't need as much money on those lines, so I can just shove it all down to overtime.
I guess more specifically, I get the pulling from those.
Yeah.
What about the bailiff, the gaining, the
That is
$527?
where we kind of took somebody out of 4D court and he had 20 years on, well, the door bailiff's position, person that had been in that spot before, didn't have anywhere near as much time as him. So I had to
Oh, okay.
fill into his line.
He earned more than what was appropriated for that
Right,
particular
because when I
position.
originally had the line in the budget, the person didn't have as many years on as.
I
what-
gotcha. And then the last question. So obviously with correctional officers, nothing we can do. We don't have enough. We pay the guys who are there, guys and girls who are there more money. But
Right.
with our deputies, we do have reserves. And I'm just curious what role they play in here. Is it possible to increase? I know there's certain rules that reserves have to have a minimum amount of time on the road. Is there any rule on maximum time? Or is there even any interest on reserves to do more time to supplement this overtime?
I'll let the sheriff answer that one.
Sorry, I don't want you to, I'm not beating
I
up on you
could, but I'm
here.
gonna let him answer that one.
Good morning, Tony Skinner, Delaware County Sheriff. So the function that reserve deputies play is simply supplemental. They have to work a certain amount of hours every month to stay current. They have to work those hours that fits around their personal lives and their work lives. So sometimes if we are short, say, on afternoon shift, 3 days out of the month, and we have to force somebody over, that time slot may not fit those limited number of reserves that we have. So reserves shouldn't be looked at as somebody that we can pull from and go, all right, you're gonna work here, you're gonna work here, you're gonna work here, because it doesn't fit for them. So they're volunteers anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, so it doesn't, I mean, we're happy to have them and we're thankful to have them, but they're supplemental based on their schedules.
Yeah, well, I understood that part. I guess what I'm asking is, do you think there's more reserves who would be willing and eager to serve more time? The other thing is, I know 20 years ago, we talked about this before, there was a lot more demand for reserves. There were a lot more people wanting to be reserves.
Right.
Whereas today, not so much, not as many as we used to have. So I guess that's kind of what I was asking. Is that possible that someone would want to fill those spots?
Our supervisors are really good about when they have openings, about calling reserves to see if they're available to work. So we already do that. So the answer to your question is no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Great, moving on to treasurer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, treasurer 127, we have 325 printing, negative $600, 442 computers, positive $600, total transfer is zero.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Do you have any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, on to prosecutor lit.
Okay, this is under other, and it is prosecutor lit 1170, 137. B, 116 receptionist, negative $256.43. D, 116 receptionist, positive $256.43. Total transfer is 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Thank you. And on to public defender.
Okay, Department 247, we have 314. And I did not write a name on that. There's no name on that.
Witness fees.
Thank you. Witness fees, negative $470. 370, storage unit rental, positive $470. Total 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan.
Is
And-
this an unusual expense or is it?
We got an increase, Shelley Harvey, Public, Office Administrator, Public Defender's Office. We had an increase in storage unit fees. They increased in March, so I am requesting to transfer funds over to be able to finish paying off the rest of the year for our storage unit.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions?
I have a quick question. Where do we store these at?
Storage Express on Granville.
How long have we been doing that?
We've been doing it at Storage Express for, I think this is our 3rd year.
The reason why I bring it up, I remember last year during our budget hearings, the issue of storage come up. I don't even remember if it was your department, it might have been the clerk. Somebody had an issue with storage. And the question was, why are we paying somewhere to store our stuff when half this building is empty? Like, well, why would we pay somebody else when we could easily store it here?
I would be happy to move it here if there was a way to move it here. When we used to rent at the bottom of, what used to be Community Corrections, we were in the basement there, it's now Accutech. And we had a storage cage down there. And when we paid, I forget, like $60 a month for that. Then when we got kicked out of there, we were kind of in a jam as far as, we've got all these files that we are required to store for X amount of years, by statute and retention schedules. So we moved over to Storage Express, and Community Corrections, helped us move everything over to Storage Express. Since that time even, the storage unit, we have multiple filing cabinets in there, and then we have all the lines, all the walls covered with, boxes, floor to ceiling of files. If we could get a way to move it into this building, I would be more than happy to have them here. Trust me, I don't like going out to Granville to have to look for a file.
So why don't we do that?
That'd be a commissioner's question.
I just think the optics of it, I mean, everybody's dealing with the same budget issues and all their tax dollars are crucial to them, to the fact that we got half an empty building. I say that, it's not half, but it's just plenty of empty space here.
I
And we're
truly,
paying someone else to make storage. It just
I would
doesn't make
truly
sense to me.
welcome a place here. Obviously at that time, we didn't have that kind of space, available in this building.
Right.
So,
Back then, yes, I
Yeah.
totally understand.
yeah, but yes, I would truly welcome having everything moved here.
Well, I'm gonna help you get there with my vote today. Thank you.
All right, and that also, I mean, anything that's in this building is the commissioners, and I know they probably have plans for some of these spaces, like the high crimes, unit is working on
Correct.
building
yeah.
out, so, while there may be an appearance of extra space right now, that'd be a commissioner question, so. All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
No,
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to our first addendum.
Okay, under County General, we have Jail, 145. We have F, 113 Correctional Officer, negative 8,660.80. G, 113 Correctional Officer, positive 8,660.80. B, 104 Sergeant, negative 14,695. C 104 sergeant, positive 14,695, total 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. For the most part, well, actually, all of these, transfers on this addendum are backfilling of employees, so. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes. Thank you. Over to other, DCC.
Okay, under the DOC grant 9320, before we get started, they did call Becky and they asked to, lower the amount on the second item.
Okay,
So that is gonna decrease from the 12,000 amount to 8,662.45 on both the A108 and B108. Still, the negative's in the same spot and the positive's in the same spot.
all right,
So starting with 107, financial manager, negative 13,260.78. A 107, financial manager, positive 13,260.78. A 108, administrative assistant, negative 8,862.45. And B 108, administrative assistant, positive 8,662.45, total 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, on to
Just for
drug
the
court.
record, could we read the change number one more time?
Mm-hmm. 8,662.45.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh,
All right, now moving on to drug court.
okay. Under drug court project income, 2501, we have B 108, financial manager, negative 3,167.28. C 108, financial manager, positive 3,167.28, total transfer is 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Jane, you got your exercise there, up and down.
Didn't know what this one was.
Any questions? Hearing none, roll
I think I
call,
have a
please.
question.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes. All right, on to jail lit.
1170-145, department. And we have D 108, correctional officer, negative 16,647.12. E 108, correctional officer, positive 16,647.12, total 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes,
Thank you, I think I'm done.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to highway.
Okay, Department 1176, we have C 135, truck driver, negative 19,518.76. D 135, truck driver, positive 19,518.76, total 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. On to our second addendum. These were both favorable, and the first one is backfilling. This is 911 corrections, 911 communications.
Yes, communications 124. We have C 101, communication tech, negative 14,811.67. D 101, communication tech, positive 14,811.67. C 114, communication tech, negative $3,000. 194, training, positive $3,000, total 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions?
I have a quick question for Director Cummins. Could you just, bring us up to speed on what kind of training? I know you and your team do a lot of training.
Fred Cummings, 911 Director. So this training is actually a misnomer. It's in the salary line. It pays for our training officer to train new people.
It's still training, right? So it's just paying them to do the training.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, high-tech crimes unit.
Okay, Department 1195, we have 211 supplies, positive $1,342. 393 schooling, negative $1,342, total zero.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, thank you. All right, over to the financials.
Starting out in County General, we have the Commissioners, Department 153, and line 386, Institutional Care, $250,000. Total, $250,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have plenty of questions for you today. This is a pretty big request, and we talked about it for a while during Finance Committee. And I know I've talked to Commissioner Henry about it as well, so
Yep.
would you like to explain what this is?
So this is the institutional care. Mainly what comes out of this is for the jail release program, which we pay GCC for. So it's increased, quite a bit this year. So we're hoping that this amount will get us through until the end of the year. There's a few smaller things that will come out of there, but, it's mainly the jail release program.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, you said it increased a little bit.
So compared to last year's, I think the highest one was like around 35. The last one I got was around 48.
Okay.
So,
I was looking through the budget for this year, for that particular line item, it's budgeted 300,000 for the entire year.
Mhm.
And now the request is for 250,000,
Mhm.
at a little more past the halfway point.
sure.
That seems like a little bit more than a little bit.
Right.
Is that,
Well, I
like,
think
can
it's
you get a little bit
hard
more detailed on that, please?
Jane Miranda, Community Corrections. When you look at the previous numbers, we went back to 2016. The numbers that we have on this year are pretty similar to what they were pre-pandemic. So I think as of yesterday, we had 113 on the jail release program. Those 113 are $14 a day versus $37.50 in the jail. So when you look at just yesterday's numbers, if those individuals were still in jail, it would cost the county $127 or $127,000 versus 47 on the jail release. So it's not that there's necessarily more, because it's pretty consistent with years pre-pandemic. We have a lot more individuals in treatment. You just don't have any way of knowing. Now, next month, we may have 25 come off and no one come on. You have no way of knowing through the court system who comes on, who gets off until they have their court hearings. So the numbers are pretty consistent with years past. And the rate has not changed. It has been the same rate for 14 plus years.
So basically, last year was a low year, and then we're getting back to normal. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. When you look at 2020 and 2021, in 2022, we were starting to get all of those old cases processed through. And so we're on track. We have 157 clients at the end of June, that we had serviced this year. And when you look at like 2020, there was 146. 2021, there was 162 throughout the year. So the numbers are not off of what they have been in years past.
We just didn't budget enough for this year, is that what you mean?
Since I have been the director for 4 years, the commissioners have had to come back every year to ask for more money, because again, you have no way of knowing who gets arrested, who comes out. We have we have a gentleman on dialysis that we were asked to take, so that is not a county expense. I believe sheriff deputies were taking him to his dialysis every day. He is now on with us. We have individuals that are on 20 plus medications that we were asked to take out. So it's not just the GPS, it's the overall. It's cost of correctional officers, it's cost of medications, it's cost of a
Yeah.
multitude of things.
And during finance committee, we talked to you about, did you increase your budget for 24? And no, so, I mean, we will be addressing this again next year at this point, so.
We do every year. I mean, since
Yeah.
I've been director, this has been addressed every year.
Did you say this was the pre-trial? Is that what this is? Is that what you
This
said?
is the jail
I missed
release
it.
program that, is through so what happens with the jail release program is that, I believe it was started with June Kramer, so about 3 directors ago. And it was an attempt to get people out of the jail and into services. And then it's just stayed that way. The courts release individuals that are maybe high dollar individuals in the jail. It is people that are pending their court hearings, pending revocations with probation. Sometimes we get, like this year's numbers, for example, we have 94 new clients and then 63 of them were repeat people coming back. Meaning that they might have gotten placed in February and then now they're back again in June.
What did you guys keep statistics on the success of this program?
We keep the numbers for the DOC. It's really hard to,
Recidivism and I mean, whether they're coming back and,
not for the jail release, only because these are pretrial individuals that have not gone through their trial or gone through a plea agreement. So our sole purpose is to eliminate overcrowding in the jail, put these individuals in services, and then assure that they come to their court hearings, their trial.
Mhm.
They are on a 24/7 GPS monitor.
so I mean, financially, it seems to make logical sense to enhance this program. I guess Shannon, maybe this is a question for you, but why can't we budget it? Why don't we budget it more appropriately for next year,
Yeah,
knowing that the numbers are gonna be high?
I don't disagree with you. It does need to be budgeted higher, and I think in years past, and Jessica, you probably remember this, maybe Ryan, but our old admin, she would, pay for some of this stuff that we're asking for out of Pam's insurance account.
Oh, I do remember that.
Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And we're trying not to do that because then at the end of the year, we'd always come back and have to put more money in insurance. But that's kind of what was happening with that insurance account. So that's why we have Sarah asking for some of this money, because we don't want to steal. It looks like we're on track with the insurance account. We shouldn't have to come and ask you for any more money for the insurance, but we're trying to leave that alone. So that's kind of the reason for this. But I agree with you, Matt.
You said you didn't, because budget's already been turned in, you didn't have budget more next year, so we'll be addressing this again.
Yes, correct.
And this is to get you through the rest of the year, correct? Did you?
I hope, my hope is that
Okay.
I don't have to do this.
So after our finance committee meeting, I did talk to Commissioner Henry a little bit about what was left over in perf and FICA. So Sarah did bring those numbers. Did you give that to all the council
Yes.
members? So we do have
Yeah.
those. And it's looking like, from what you were looking at, that FICA and perf are on track to be spent correctly, or not really have a surplus, I guess I should say.
Right.
In those lines, because I was kind of hoping that maybe, maybe we could do
I
some,
know, I looked
you
that
know,
up.
appropriate
I
a
was-
little bit today and transfer some others later, but, what is our actual demand, like, what bills do we have right now pending that need to be paid before next council meeting?
Just that one that's, I think it's close to 49. I have it here. I think I sent it to you.
48,665?
48,665. There are a few smaller ones that will come out of that. I got one from like Randolph County where we housed an inmate there. I think it was around like 1,000 or so, but those are way smaller compared to these ones.
So our county general, what is it? Around 6 million, is that our,
6,631,118,
that's what we have in there?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, doing the math, if you take that number that Matt threw out for the bills that we have due, if that's going to be the same kind of cadence we're going at, then this ask would be on
Contract,
track.
yeah.
Well, for me, it sounds like something that, a good program that we need, that we're gonna have to pay for, it sounds like regardless. We've got 6.5 million here. Guess whatever doesn't get used goes back in the county general at the end of the year, so,
Right.
much as it's a huge number, I think it's a doable number, necessary.
I agree, it's a big number, and difficulty I had was that we had no really advance warning if there were. So if there are other large ticket items that are gonna need to come out of county general between now and the end of the year, let us know now. Don't just show up with a,
Sure.
the bill that needs to be paid.
And I was just talking to Matt, since it'll be the first budget hearing for most of those on the bench. When when the departments bring in their budgets at the end of June, like, that's locked. We can't appropriate more than what they brought in. When we start working on our budgets here in a couple weeks, we can always cut, but we can't add more. So that's why some of us keep asking the question about, how important it is that we appropriate for this going forward. I do have one more question. I know with, some of the other departments, are there opportunities for grants with this program, with the jail release program? And what are we utilizing with that?
Well, the staff that oversees all of these individuals are paid with the Department of Correction grant. So I know it's a large number, but the cost to the county is strictly this. We pay our own insurance, we pay our own perf and FICA. Staff is paid for by the Department of Correction grant. And so that's about the only grants that you can get with home detention services.
And I heard the word recidivism come up, and that comes up in our JRAC meetings
Yes.
often, so that's another, mechanism for
And we do
helping these
not have
individuals,
a
and
definition
not
for
yet.
it
Still a 63-ish% savings over having them in jail, so.
Yeah. While we're spending money, we're saving money.
I can give you a quick figure. Over the past 5 years, the jail release program has saved the county $2.6 million just by having those individuals out on GPS versus in the jail.
I mean, personally, I don't feel like if they're releasable, jail's not supposed to be something that's, long-term housing for someone who made a bad decision, one night or a series of bad decisions, so if these are people who have been deemed necessary that they can be released, we'll save the jail for the people who can't be released. So, I say it's a good program and kudos to all you guys who are running it.
Do we have any further questions? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. All right, thank you. On to data processing.
Just
Okay.
real quick,
Oh,
Jessica,
sure.
if I might. Remember, Sarah's still trying to figure this thing out. And, we had an administrator that had been here for years, that was very good at her job. Sarah's trying to figure this out, and she's doing a great job at it, but, and I understand, Mr. Hughes, we don't want big surprises, and I don't like it either, but Sarah's working really hard to try to keep that from happening, so. Thank you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
She's moving right along. You're picking up quick. All right, data processing.
All right, IT 120, we have 441, check sealer folder, positive $6,500 for a total of $6,500.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions? This one's been around for a while.
Yes, Jim Fluke, IT department. We've had this piece of equipment for about 21 years. It's not used every day. Most days, we do support checks and the accounts payable checks. So support checks are about every day, but that number is dwindling. The state's taking over more of that, but the accounts payable is our biggest number of checks. We run about 7,200 checks a year that it folds them, seals them, so they don't have to be stuffed in an envelope, ready for postage, so.
Couldn't find another roll of duct tape, keep it going.
Well, we could try, but I don't think the auditor's office wants to stuff the envelope while we're waiting to get it fixed.
Right.
Mr. Fluke, do you have money anywhere else in your budget to transfer into this?
At this point in time, I can not say, most of my invoices are coming due at the end of the year, October, November, and December. And I don't want to pull that money out of those for our most of it's for maintenance.
What Mr. Whitehead said, I was actually gonna touch base on that. I was gonna say, normally I would ask if you could pull it from another spot, but from what I've learned in these couple of years is your department's kind of unique. You're one of the ones who generally doesn't have a lot of extra money floating around. Most of the money you request gets used up, so.
I usually carry bills over into the next year and try to get away with it, but it's.
Yeah, it's not a lot of wiggle room.
It's been good the last couple of years. Council's been, very good to the IT, so, we're getting better.
You don't have many line items in either of your budgets, so.
No.
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. We're on to the auditor.
Okay, Department 126, we have 310 contractual services for $50,000, total $50,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
I'm just curious what the contractual service is for $50,000.
Pay for your,
It's to pay for,
training, web stream.
audits that are required by the state.
I'm sorry, Ed, could you say it again? Matt, have
Sure.
you going here?
It's to actually pay for audits that are required by the state.
Okay. Are they annual?
We have to do them every year. There's multiple, different types of audits. But yes, we've got annual audits that are required.
I
Okay.
believe there are 7 this year, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Carroll, maybe you should explain that some of these are new, recently required audits
Yeah,
that you hadn't planned on.
That's what I was getting at. Thank you.
Yeah, for example, this gap report, it's required by the state. And it's really driven by, so we can actually borrow money. If we don't have those, our bond rating decreases, which causes our interest rate to go up. So we do these reports and provide them to the state so that we can get better ratings on our interest.
Okay, thank you for clarifying
Thank you.
that.
Sure.
Thanks for asking that too, Dan.
So just to summarize, the state's putting the burden back on us for some of these newer audits, right, in essence?
Yeah, essentially it's an unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that.
And they have to be done by third parties.
Yes.
And my understanding was that we do not have a fixed price contract with these outside vendors. It's just on an hourly basis. So it makes it difficult to predict what the cost is going to be, especially with the new requirements.
Right. They give us an estimate, and the estimate's gonna remain the same as it did last year. But, you know, it is an hourly rate, and it's based on, you know, how much time it takes them to complete the audit.
Similar to the question we were talking to, with commissioners about their, unexpected expense, and they probably didn't get it in the budget, I think this line item last year was 95,000, this is 50,000. Did you get it in the budget coming up next year, or are we gonna be having to do this next year as well?
We're gonna do it again next year.
Okay, so we didn't get it in there.
We
All right.
increased the budget, but it wasn't enough to cover what we,
Great.
And
Okay.
is the hourly rate staying the same?
it went up just slightly. I think I told Bill that it didn't change, but it did go up slightly. I reviewed all this with one of the vendors yesterday,
Okay.
and so it did go up slightly, but not to change and make a major factor in what we're seeing now.
Are all the vendors charging the same rates?
No, they do different services. Even the vendor we have the contract with, they charge different rates depending on the level of personnel that works on, you know, a bookkeeper versus a CPA is gonna charge differently.
Is there a requirement? Do we have to have one of those?
Well, we have to have a third party do the audit.
Or like, one doesn't have to be a CPA or it could be a bookkeeper?
Well, when we find the information, somebody's got to enter in a computer system. So that'd be their bookkeeper.
Okay.
So we try to provide all the information digitally so it reduces their cost to us, but there's only so much we could do.
Okay.
I guess a possibility would be to have the commissioners look at, other vendors. Putting out an RFP and see what other pricing models might be available.
But bottom line is just cost of government. It is what it is. Gotta happen.
Pretty much.
Are the vendors local?
This one's based out of Indianapolis. So they do come on site on occasion, but most of it's done electronically, so we can send it to them.
All right. Any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right. Thank you. On to Bridge Community Crossing Grant. Now you're up, Carrie.
Fund 9035, we have 310 contractual, positive 325,760.65 for a total of 325,760.65.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions?
I was just wanting to, ask Carrie to clarify for the public record what this is for.
Okay. Carrie Dye, County Highway. This is an old timber bridge that's gonna be replaced, and it is on 650 East, just north of 350 North.
And they're just gonna put in a modern concrete bridge.
I'm not sure on that. I think it's gonna be a graded bridge, but I'm not sure. Angie's not available.
And then is this the last, because it looks like that depletes the grant, right? So is this it for the year on this?
Yes, this is, we were awarded $651,521.29. So this is half of it. The other half is our match money, which we already have appropriated.
Seen that in the notes. So. And when is this gonna start?
I believe Angie's got the contract and everything that's sent. We just got our money from the state, so I believe it's gonna start as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Okay, thank you. On to Fairgrounds.
Okay, Fund 4911, we have 210 operating supplies, positive $4,000 for a total of $4,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions?
Any idea what this is for? I mean,
I'm sorry.
what's this for?
It's, like paper supplies, gas for our mowers to finish out the year.
Thank you.
So, my question is, was our fair profitable?
Yes.
And then, so I'm assuming you've taken what the costs are for the rest of the year, the profit that we made, and then we're 4,000 short? Is that what this request is about?
No. This is just because before the fair, we bought a lot of paint, different supplies to spruce up the fairgrounds, I guess you'd say. The money that we made, that's already been anticipated. So it's not additional, just because we made more money this year, that's all been anticipated in the budget to start with. And next year's budget.
And well, keep in mind too, these are in the other section, so these aren't coming out of county general.
Sure, no, I'm just
Okay.
asking the questions.
Because it's just, like I said, we bought a lot of stuff before the fair. A lot of us went out and worked and painted and did different things. This'll get us through the rest of the year for our mowers or our gas for the mowers, our toiletries, paper supplies for all the buildings that we have to supply, and
just any kind of operating supplies that we might have.
Yeah, it's not a big request. That's why I was
Oh,
just asking to make sure that we were profitable, we made a profit,
Yeah.
and if this was gonna be needed because there wasn't any money there. The other thing, you did something last year, along with Bob and Miss Jane that I thought was awesome. You guys volunteered your time. You went up there, to the fairgrounds. I believe it was on the 4th of July when they were doing fireworks, and you guys sit up there all day long volunteering your time, and you took donations,
Yes.
for people parking, just cash donations. And everybody knows most people, probably 80% of the people don't even carry cash anymore. And just on those cash donations, I think you guys made like $3,000, something like that. Is there any plans on doing anything like that as far as on a more organized effort in the future to generate money that could go to
Well,
things like
we
this?
tried to do that again this year on the 4th, and we couldn't get anybody to go out and
Manpower,
work it.
right, okay. So that's really what it comes down to, is just having, I know you guys all do quite a bit of work out there as it is, so,
Yeah.
okay. All right, well, thank you for clarifying, no.
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes,
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, on to JDAI grant.
Fund 9109, we have 202 food items, positive $2,000. 212 office supplies, positive $4,750. 340 communication and transportation, travel and training, positive $13,000. 335 professional services contracts, positive $35,250. We have a total of $55,000.
motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Emily, do you want to explain this one since we're
Sure.
anticipated?
Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. This is a grant that juvenile probation received for the JDAI program. Part of the grant is for programming and part of the grant is for implementation. But this is just to appropriate the money so they can spend it.
Any questions?
Grants on a fiscal year, is that correct?
Correct. So they have money currently, and then they have to keep track for IOCS, for the grantor, so they have to keep everything separate. Becky is setting it up so they can keep track of that separately. So each fiscal year, they have to keep track and report it, how they're using that money separately.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So the request is for $55,000, and I'm not sure if I'm reading this incorrectly, but my thing says the total in that account is only $20,900.
Well, I think that comes in, payments come in. It's, they don't have it all at once.
Each,
Each month, they get monthly payments into the account.
and since
So-
they're on a fiscal year and we're on a calendar year, it's with the grants that it's basically, we front it, you could say, and then the money is coming in monthly, and those 12 months of this grant total the
The
$55,000.
Or just appropriating it ahead of time?
We're never spending beyond that.
Yeah, the money that, the monthly money is basically
Will
what
add
they're
up to
spending.
55,000.
She's appropriating the entire amount for fiscal year of July 1st to
June 30th.
June 30th of next year.
I mean, the way you explain it makes sense. I've just not,
It
there's
doesn't,
too many times where we've appropriated money that we don't
CASA
have
has
yet.
one the same way. CASA has, or not CASA, FRC. FRC has a grant that they get quarterly payments. So we appropriate the salary for the whole year, but we don't have all of that salary in there. Because they get a quarterly payment for the grant. But we know we're gonna get the entire grant, so we appropriate all of it, because we have to appropriate the salary.
And it's encumbered at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
I understand the
Carryover.
explanation, and thank you
Yeah.
for putting that way, but, so why don't we just come back each month and appropriate
Do you
what
want me
we
to
have?
I don't wanna come back each month and appropriate.
No.
No, thank you. That's a lot of work.
I just don't get a habit of appropriate money we don't have yet.
But we've got it, it's just they won't release the funding until, that's how they release the funding to us is monthly.
The grant has been
Versus-
approved, so she knows what the number
I
is.
get
It's
that,
just
but
the way they pay it.
That's like
Right.
me paying my bills off money some other dude owes me. I mean, he owes it to me, but is he gonna give it to me? You know,
Well,
so
the
I'm
state-
just cautious to do it.
So we already have the approval letter.
By the way,
grant's
nobody
been
owes me no money.
approved. The state's already approved it, it's just they won't release that funding unless, and except for in monthly increments.
Same with FRC. The state's already approved that grant in whole, but they only release that in quarterly increments.
All right, so it's guaranteed, locked in.
It's
coming.
guaranteed, yes.
All right,
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, 911 statewide.
Under 1222, we have line 443, PSAP equipment for $200,000, total $200,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Any questions?
What are you buying? That's
So this is for a new platform and software that we're gonna buy to do what's called auto dispatching. So it's set up so that once the dispatcher gets to a certain point, it automatically dispatches fire and EMS units. But it's incredibly expensive. It'll save in response times and some of the workload issues that we have.
Thanks, Fred.
Do you have any idea about what kind of impact on response times it'll make? Like, well, how big of a,
It can cut anywhere from 15 to 45 seconds off a dispatch time.
which is significant?
Mhm.
And anyone's ever been in a life or death situation, 45 seconds could be life or death, right? Also, just to clarify, this 200,000 is out of your 911 fund, right?
Correct, not out of county general.
And you only have so many things that you can
That's
spend that
correct.
money on, and this falls under that.
Right, and the state approved the expense, so.
All right,
And if approved, then you'll be able to implement that this year, right?
Yeah, so this is the first step. I have to get the money approved. We're still in negotiations with the vendor. Then the commissioners will have to sign the contract. We're hoping to have it up and running by the end of the year, which is why I'm here today, so.
Training will go along with this.
Yep.
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, that concludes our transfer and appropriation agenda. If someone wants to read the motion.
Motion to approve financials and to amend salary ordinance with like reductions. Second.
Motion by Eugene, second by Matt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right. Next on the agenda, under ordinances and resolutions, we have a first reading, actually, I put down salary ordinance, that is incorrect, it's the sheriff commissary ordinance. We all received copies, I think Ben sent us a most updated copy yesterday.
Yes. This is just a typo.
All right, correcting a grammatical error. Sheriff, do you want to explain why we're doing this today?
Yes.
Great.
Tony Skinner, Delaware County Sheriff. Before I dive into this, I just want to reiterate how important those, and they just walked out, how important those jail release programs are that Community Corrections and the Probation Office, they do. Like she said, there's a 78 people in one program and 100 and something in another. If those programs didn't exist, there's a high chance those people would be sitting in our jail. And our jail would be above capacity already without those programs. So they are vital, to keep funded, and they do, they do work, so I appreciate you guys, buying into that. So I'm here this morning, because several weeks ago I had reached out to Mr. Freeman and, President Piper and asked if they could try to find a copy of, an existing commissary ordinance for the sheriff's office, for the sheriff's commissary fund. And they were unsuccessful. So I reached out to Denise, to attempt to find an existing commissary ordinance, for the sheriff's office and the sheriff's commissary fund. And she couldn't find one. And I've always been under the impression that this document already existed. It should have existed years ago. So that's why I'm here today. I've worked with Mr. Freeman on the language of this proposed ordinance. And quite frankly, we've plagiarized some language from other counties that have passed ordinances that are almost identical to this. But last night I was thinking that there's a lot of new people on the council this year. So it's entirely possible that some of you don't even have a clue what the commissary is and the sheriff's commissary fund. So I apologize for putting the cart in front of the horse. So let me back up for 1 second and explain what that is. So every jail in the state of Indiana, and then every prison also, but every jail has a commissary fund. So commissary is basically a store within the jail in which inmates have the opportunity to purchase products, like candy bars and chips, hygiene items, writing utensils and things like that. It's not a physical store. They don't have cash, but people come from the outside and they put money on their books. That's the fund, that's the commissary fund. And then we have an outside company that runs the commissary, portion of the jail that, inmates are given a list of items that they can purchase. It's all of the things I just listed and hundreds more. That is what commissary is. For our purposes of the commissary fund, it also includes, inmate communications. So the telephones, the video visitation that they can do with people on the outside. And now they also have what's called chirping devices, or basically they can send text messages also. So every time an inmate buys something from commissary, or every time an inmate makes a phone call or does a video visitation, they're charged for those items, and we make a small commission on those. So as you can imagine, we've got 370-something people in jail. Over days and weeks and months, that money adds up, and in larger jails, it's pretty significant. So that's why I'm here today, to install some very definite and visible guidelines on how the sheriff and future sheriffs can spend that money. Indiana state statute lists, and it's listed verbatim on this proposed ordinance, but the state statute spells out a number of specific purchases in which the sheriff can spend money from his or her commissary account. And those are listed, there's a list of 9 things. So you'll see if you've got a copy of that, you'll see a list actually of 21 things. The first 8 of those are verbatim from the state statute. They deal with things like money to buy commissary, expense of operating the commissary, specialized training, equipment for the jail, activities to provide in order to maintain discipline of inmates in the jail. And then number 7, activities that will reduce or prevent occurrences for substance abuse, child abuse, domestic abuse, drinking and driving, juvenile delinquency, and then 8. But the reason I'm here today is to talk about item number 9. All right, so number 9 says, the actual state statute says, any other purpose that benefits the sheriff's department that is mutually agreed on by the county fiscal body and the county sheriff. So whatever the county council and the sheriff in each county decide that the sheriff can spend that money on, then the sheriff can spend that money on, so long as it benefits the sheriff's office in some way or another.
Why did we change, why is ours different on 9?
Mine says,
No,
He's
what it
referring
says,
to a subsection 9 in the statute,
Oh,
not
yeah,
the
no.
ordinance.
Oh, okay.
before you go any further, real
Right.
quick,
sure,
Tony, so I'm gonna make sure I understood that correctly. Are you saying that if this went forward, that it would still be a joint venture between this council and you on how to spend the money, or you would have sole discretion without oversight?
I have sole discretion without oversight. I don't have to come to you to ask to appropriate money from the commissary account. I think that's listed
So,
up above.
For state statute.
Pursuant to state statute already, those first 8 items that he was referring to, he can spend money on that without your approval already, because that's established by state code. In the code itself, it's not subsection 9 on this ordinance. He's referring to subsection 36-8-10-21 sub D sub 9 is what he's referring to in the Indiana code. Says, in addition to those 8 items,
anything that the sheriff and the council agree upon that benefits the sheriff's department, in addition to those 8 items, he can also spend money on. So this ordinance is essentially a request that the council and he agree on the items in here that are outside of the statute to be things that he can spend money on in the future, so he wouldn't have to come back over and
So
over.
we're gonna
for-
agree in advance on things on this list.
As set forth in this list, yes.
Right. So the reason that I'm here is because over the years, like I said, every sheriff has had control of their commissary account. And every sheriff has a lot of discretion on how that money is spent. None of those first 8 items say anything about sponsoring, youth sports or paying for my, attorney fees, that deal with things directly affected to me as being the sheriff. Any number of things. So what we have to do is, if we sponsor a youth baseball team or something in the summertime, is we have to go back up to 7E and say, we think that sponsoring youth sports, decreases the potential for juvenile delinquency. It's a bit of a stretch, but the State Board of Accounts, they're kind of generous and they allow that. But I want to be quite specific and very transparent on how I spend commissary money and how future sheriffs spend it moving forward. That's why items 10 through 21, those 11 items are things that I have asked Mr. Freeman to put into this. Those, like he said, those are above and beyond what the state statute allows the sheriff to spend money on. That's what I'm asking. I'm not asking for an appropriation. This is anything. This is what sheriffs are already spending money on, but I want to put it in writing. So the next time we get audited, and we get audited every year by the State Board of Accounts, and the commissary account is included in that audit. I don't want there to be any gray area. I want to be very specific on what we spend money on and to know that we're allowed to.
How are you doing it currently?
Well, that's what I said. We have to find something in those first 8 and categorize it. And sometimes,
The
quite frankly,
SBOA recognize this ordinance? These new items, will they recognize that and audit against it, or?
no, it's not up to them to recognize it. State statute says what he just read and what I read,
Yeah.
that as long as we agree on it, that it's perfectly legal.
Okay.
I mean, we could build rockets to go to the moon as long as we agree on it, but that'd be silly.
Well, I think as long as it reasonably acts as a benefit to the Delaware County Sheriff's Department and its general mission, I think within the context of that sub-9, as long as the fiscal body and the Sheriff's Department agree, then it can be spent. So a baseball team would be a good example, or a community event. That's something that you wouldn't necessarily say is direct, but there's definitely a correlation if it's, trying to help youth stay out of bad circumstances or something like that.
And there is, and if you have questions about any of those 10 through 21, I'd be happy to give you an example of how we do that, or how we've done that, or how we plan on doing that in the future.
My question isn't so much of the 1 through 8, which is state statute,
We're just verbatim state code.
or
yeah.
10 through 21, which is what's at. My question is number 9, is right in the middle. As a supplement or in addition to any other funds appropriated by the Delaware County Council,
So,
DCSO. So my question is, we set the salaries, right?
salaries,
yeah,
this
we
has
said-
nothing to do with salaries.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Okay.
So is this to say that as a supplement or in addition to any other funds appropriated by the council, is this to say that this would give you the authority to take that money and increase deputies' pay?
No.
Or bonuses
So-
or anything fund related?
So what the state statute actually says under the statute that he read, and then subsection 9 is, and I'll read it again, any other purpose that benefits the sheriff's department that is mutually agreed upon by the county fiscal body and the county sheriff. The next paragraph says, and this alludes to what this says, money dispersed from the fund under this subsection must be supplemental or in addition to, rather than a replacement for regular appropriations made to carry out the purposes listed in subdivisions 1 through 8. So what that means is, we spend a lot of money from commissary amount supplementing our training fund. We spend a lot of money from our commissary amount supplementing our equipment and supplies. You guys don't even know about it because I don't come to you for appropriations, but we spend a ton of money on those things. But this state statute says that you're not allowed to look at me and say, well, you got $100,000 in commissary amount, we're cutting your training fund. It's saying that the money that we spend out of training is in addition to and a supplement to what you're required to provide for us. That's what it says.
Do you have a dollar and cent, any idea what, 10 through 21 on expense annualized budget could be?
I don't.
Okay, second question then would be, again, 10 through 21, are these, things that you have picked up off of other sheriff departments? Mr. Freeman? Or, Sheriff?
Yeah, so, like I said, we did a great deal of plagiarizing from Knox County and Adams County, and they both passed ordinances, almost identical to this earlier this calendar year. And these are things, honestly, that most sheriffs across the state spend money on. If you look at the commissary report that I sent you, that I emailed you yesterday, the overwhelming majority of the commissary money is spent on commissary expenses and law enforcement equipment and supplies. So out of the,
You say commissary expenses, you mean like the food that they're buying or
yeah, the food,
payment of
the shelves to store it,
whatever.
yeah, they go to the expense of running the commissary account in the first place, right? So those two items, law enforcement equipment, supplies, and the commissary expenses makes up probably 90 to 93% of the overall commissary spending from this fund.
Sheriff, I have a question. So I'm looking at the, report that you sent us yesterday, so thank you for getting that to us. 'Cause
Yep.
that's another part of this ordinance is that we'll receive this biannually.
Yep.
So I appreciate that we had it before this meeting, and it does look on here that you have columns bucketed for these different line items, right? So I think moving to go to, Jim's question about what 10 through 21 will look like, we'll be able to obtain those moving forward.
The way Nancy does that is you can look across the top and see how much of it goes to employee training or equipment in the jail, other equipment supplies. So she categorizes those so you can see how much per category, those would go to, yeah.
So then we'll be able
I
to
just
track
didn't take
them.
the time to add those up and to do a percentage of them.
Right, you're gonna have to switch to legal size paper with all these added columns, but, I think
Well,
that'll be helpful to see and to monitor, and that'll answer that
Sorry,
question
were
for
you
you.
asking, is he gonna alter this to include all
Yes.
of these? Is that what you said?
Say that
That
again?
your report will include all of these separately?
As new columns, all of the new
Um,
10 through 21.
no, I mean, I don't
No?
see a need to do that.
Can we maybe add a column instead of doing, like, where we could, well, some of us are data nerds and we like to run pivot tables and such, but even if we had another column that said what bucket this would fall under, so you're not doing a bunch of columns. Like, let's say this is for advertising promotional, that there'd be a column where it would say 15, so we would know what fell under line, item 15.
I think it's worth noting, he's required by state code to use a form provided to him
Oh.
for this by the State Board of Accounts.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
where that's where the form comes from.
Okay,
In that, if you look at it's not a numbered section, but the last full paragraph of the ordinance is just a restatement of the last section of the state code. Because I just wanted to be very clear what his
Okay.
reporting requirements are. So it'll
that
There'll
makes
be a
sense.
redundancy built into the Delaware County Code of Ordinances, but it's also his requirement under state law.
Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense.
Thank you, Ben.
Because there are columns on here, so when, like I said, some of us are data nerds and we,
So as
Look at
the
things differently.
SBOA amends the form, he'll be required to update it to be whatever it is the SBOA wants them to be reporting on.
Okay,
Is this particular fund, without this ordinance, at risk for, influence from other people like commissioners and of such? I remember seeing something in your note that there was something about commissioners suing sheriffs and tying up their legal funds. And the reason why I asked that question, I know last year when we did the, retention bonuses, which I, absolutely disagreed with, but, part of that bonus was paid out of a fund, out of your department, that's the unsupervised fund by us.
That was
Against
the,
your will,
that was
I
the mis-
suspect,
that was
but-
the misdemeanor fund.
Right.
That's completely separate from this.
But is this a similar situation where someone could come to you without this ordinance and say, we want to take money out of this fund that you're operating
No.
and make you spend it on this?
So if you have the ordinance in front of you, on the front page, the fourth whereas says the Delaware County Sheriff, now this is state statute, or his designee may disperse money from the fund as outlined in said statute without prior appropriation by the county council or anybody else. It's implied, or anybody else. The sheriff has sole discretion of this fund. So it's not in jeopardy of something happening to it. And there's already oversight in this fund, all right? So there's actually 3 layers of oversight. I'm asking for a 4th. So the first layer of oversight is the state statute that already exists, listing those 8 items that on how, very specifically, what we're allowed to spend money on. The second one is the commissary report that I send the county council and the auditor twice a year. That's oversight. You guys can look at that and see exactly how we're spending that money, all right? The third layer of oversight is the State Board of Accounts audit that we get, that's performed annually, all right? So this isn't a fund where the sheriff can go out and, and just spend money on whatever he wants. There are a limited number of things that I can already do. I'm just asking to agree upon adding a few more of those to make them, very specific. Things like, the sponsorships for youth sports or whatever. We give money to the Boys and Girls Club. We give money to the YWCA and the Muncie Mission and the YOC and the Hallie Rum Foundation and a lot of, nonprofits and a lot of charities. But the first 8 don't specifically say those things. So we're asking in item number 15, advertising, promotional, and sponsorship costs related to the promotion of the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. So we're asking those specifically instead of trying to make a stretch and fit it somewhere in the first 8.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to introduce the ordinance 2023-18 as a first reading. Gives council the opportunity to think about this for a month and come up with questions. Because I feel like right now we're beating a dead horse. So let's give ourselves some time to think about it. And we have a month then at second reading, question again.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
all right, motion by Eugene, second by Bill. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes.
Who was the second by?
Bill.
Bill.
Well, between now and next month, I've already had one person reach out for me with questions after I emailed yesterday, so please call me. Don't email me. It's just easier to call, so, I appreciate it. And I'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great. Now we're moving on to elected officials and department heads.
No. Council rules update.
Oh, my goodness. I totally
You're way ahead.
skipped my word. Okay,
Poor James
we're going back.
there waiting, too.
Back to appointments and committee reports. How about we do that? We had some questions after our last council meeting about our council rules and some updates that were wanted. Some council members were hoping we could make. This is just for discussion. We can't vote on this until September. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So the request was in the rules as they currently stand, section 3.02 and 6.02, both sections contained language stating that, documents and things that were being introduced at council meetings had to be provided 48 hours prior to, well, if you do the math, since most of your meetings are on Mondays, that would actually require that those be sent over the weekend, which seemed impractical. So that language, the request was that it be updated to stipulate that that had to be sent by 9 AM the preceding Friday. So that has been done. The rules also require that you be given at least 30 days notice, which is why those were sent out, but 30 days didn't quite get us to today's meeting, so that's why they'd be presented for your adoption, to amending the rules at your September meeting.
302, and what was the other one?
602, 6.02. I believe one is for regular meetings and one is for special meetings, but I don't have the rules in front of me, but.
Yeah, agenda and resolutions and ordinances. What's it?
The point being, in most cases, they would have been required to be sent to you on a Saturday, and that just didn't seem practical. So it was requested that that be changed.
Do you have any questions? All right, cool. It'll be on our agenda for next month then. All right.
I have a committee report.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The security committee met yesterday at the Justice and Rehabilitation Center. We're going to be working on bringing the security plan up to date to meet state guidelines. That's the major topic of discussion.
Want to have any questions for Bill with that meeting? Thank you for serving on that. All right, on to new business. We have Jamie Bain with the Health Department. We're going to review the Health First Indiana funding.
Good morning, Council. Jamie Bain, Administrator, Delaware County Health Department. I believe everyone is fully aware, but as a formal acknowledgement, the commissioners voted to opt in and accept the Health First Indiana money for Delaware County at their August 7th meeting. What that means is Delaware County will be receiving 1.3 million from the state in 2024 and 2.6 million in 2025. Unknown at that point, 2026 and beyond, what the funding would look like. Of note, the Senate Enrolled Act 4 that created this funding does go on to say, and annually thereafter. So we do anticipate continued funding beyond 2025. You all should have received some documents I sent last week for your review, much of which you may have already seen in the past, I'm not sure, but I wanted to come today to discuss this, answer any questions anyone may have, or attempt to answer any questions.
Can you clarify the year one number we're getting in the match in year two?
Okay. The year one funding that we are receiving under Health First Indiana is a minimum of $1,300,872. There's a potential we'll receive more than that based on funding being split up from counties that are not opting in. I believe as of this morning, 19 of our 92 counties had not opted in. The max we could receive would be, I have that here somewhere. The max we could receive for 2024 is $1,734,496.50. The match for 2024 is the average of the past 3 years' annual local budget. So the average of 2021, 2022, and 2023 comes out to be $840,862.
Can you repeat that number one more time?
$840,862.
Thank you.
And actually, I'm sorry, Council.
Thank you.
So what I just handed out there is, it started out as a simple,
Jamie,
yes,
do you have any extra copies?
sorry, guys.
Here, I can go make copies.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so that document started out as a simple set of notes that I created for myself to try to keep some of the things straight, some of the information related to this funding. So what I just rattled off to you there came from this page. And Mr. Cancer, question, were you looking for 2025's numbers as well?
No, you have it on here. I just wanted to make everybody hear it, what the match was going to have to be, because there's been some angst with some folks that have, that I've spoke with on a couple different occasions about this topic, primarily concerned with how this money came to be versus the fact that it's now here and we're actually going to accept it, because there was just some, and then there was as part of that, there was conversations around the matching funds and what that would entail. And point being, we're not going to exceed our existing budget to take this money, is really what it comes down to. Which I've tried to reiterate to everyone who listens, but
Yeah, that's correct. It actually builds in the potential for a savings of around $300,000 for the county in future years. I think that's up for discussion. That could be a point of contention, but I think that's something we need to visit or revisit over the next couple of years to discuss. My original belief was that we would request the $848.62 in 2024, which is the required amount. I've explained before, in 2025, we would request that same amount, even though the minimum the state requires is $545,000. Reason being, in 2025, it'll still be an unknown as to what funding amount we'll receive from the state in 2026. So it's almost like keeping our foot in the door to maintain our current budget, rather than shoot ourselves in the foot by handing out $300,000 to other departments and not be able to recoup it to our department. 2026, I had proposed that if the state funding continued or increased, that we would then seek from council only the match, which would be the 20%, the roughly $545,000. Following some discussion with the state, another idea has been presented that I had not thought of before. They're suggesting that local health departments continue to seek the full amount and not go down to the 20%. Continue to seek that 3-year average budget. And reason being is highlighted in those bullet points up towards the top. The US average of funding per capita is $91 per person. The Indiana average spend is $55 a person. Delaware County spends $7.66. Even if you take that 2.6 million in 2025, it comes out to $23.23 a person. If you were to add that to the 766 that you currently fund, we still come out around, $31 a person. We would still be below the average in Indiana of 55 and well below the average of 91 in the United States. So to take that all the way down to the 20% required match of 545,000, I have not previously done the math on that, but you're looking at still keeping us well below where we need to be. I think this match concept is not just, on paper. I think it's a showing of commitment towards public health. I think that's what they're looking for. There's always been limitations. There's a finite amount of money. Public health in Indiana especially has always been looked at as kind of the, we're quiet, we're off in the corner, so we don't get prioritized. We're looking to change that. I think this is the first step in the state of Indiana making an attempt to change that and bring us up to where we need to be. And the funding that they're giving is an attempt to try to get all counties on a level playing field where, an individual living in Union County should have some of the same public health services available to them as someone in Hamilton County. Now, it's a long road to get there, but I think that's the intent.
I'd spoken with you at length about this before, and I would have to agree, especially when you put these numbers in front of our face. You know, the US average per person is $91 and Delaware County, $7.66. That's a little, disheartening to see that. We've definitely got an issue, not only locally, but statewide, nationally, with mental health, suicide rates, obesity, all of these things that need to be addressed. To touch on what Councilmember Kent said, I too had received some messages and some emails from some of the constituents in the community who are concerned that by accepting this money, that we kind of lose a little bit of our autonomy to operate with how we, as a community, see is best to address our health needs, our unique health needs in this community. The people I've spoken with are concerned that by accepting this money, that we will basically be under the thumb of the state, federal system, and basically anyone outside of your department for making decisions that benefit everyone else. And the examples I keep hearing, you know, we go back to the COVID deal. COVID, you guys did a great job with COVID. You were on top of it, and that was a pretty unique experience that nobody had ever went through before. However, there's kind of some rumblings about, you know, continuing that. You know, I'm seeing reports and newspaper articles about this fall, people going back to wearing masks and boosters and all that again. So the people that are concerned about losing our autonomy are concerned that if we take this money, that the state will implement things like that, and then we won't have any of that type of control when we're talking about vaccines and masks and things of that nature. All I can tell them is, for me personally, I'm never going back there. But I wanted you to have an opportunity to address that on the record so people can either have their worst fears confirmed or be put at ease that that's not the intent of this funding. So could you kind of touch on that, please?
Okay, so let me try to make a few points here. So the state health department has been very forthcoming and transparent when it comes to this money and has stated repeatedly, and of course I know this is just taking them at their word, but that this is not an attempt for the local or the state health department to overtake locals, that they have no interest in that. Further, in the resolution that the commissioners adopted, states that the Board of Commissioners of the County of Delaware, Indiana, commits to the county's rights to self-direct and acknowledges that by opting in and accepting these funds, it retains authority and control of the county health department, otherwise afforded to it under state law or code pursuant to Indiana Code 162112. So, and this is a
Sorry, Jamie, is that something we wrote in, or that was?
this was provided by the state.
Okay.
That wording was in the resolution that they provided.
Thank you.
Now, I think anyone could have a valid concern down the road. As you know, things change. I personally don't have that concern. I think if we're playing our cards right, if they tried to overstep and take action against locals that we weren't in agreement with, I think it could be as simple as turning over the money. This money is ours to keep, but at any time you can opt out. So I guess turning over the money is not the proper wording.
Accept no further money.
Accept no further money. We could opt out at any point.
Would that also include returning any already received money?
No.
Okay, just accept no further. Okay.
Jamie and I have talked about this at length. I was in the public health board meeting this past month, and I didn't get a chance to actually look at these KPIs that you sent on the email, but we had talked about the KPIs. The KPIs associated with this right now are so mundane and easily achievable that accepting the money, receiving the money, most of the focus areas already exist in Delaware County, thankfully, even though we don't spend enough on them. But my concern, to Councilman Webb's point and to others who I've heard, is that those KPIs could change and they could get more dramatic. They could get very specific. And if they get very specific, they could have some sort of liberty, concerns associated with them. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that we're keeping tabs on that year over year as the funding goes. the government gives us money, they typically don't take it away, so I'm guessing that the continuation of the funds will continue. Which, you know, puts Indiana, I would guess, somewhere back in line of our public health, gap, which currently exists, with some of that, so. This is near and dear to me too, so Jamie and I have talked about it really at length, and Ryan's point, you know, is well taken, because what are the strings attached to the dollars? That's really what the most important thing is to keep in mind, so. Right now, it appears to be, we would be foolish not to take it, and to help beef up the health department as it stands today. You're gonna be in competition with a lot of people, we've talked about this too. He's put in a lot for next year's budget relative to salary increases and new positions and such, and I think they're gonna be hard to fill, because we're gonna be competing as 92 other counties, plus the state, who have all increasing their pay, you know, for everybody associated with it. We were already low paid, we're gonna help with that, but it's also gonna still be a battle, so,
And we're not the only county that feels that way. When we attended our statewide county council meeting, there were multiple counties that were feeling that that might be some pressure, especially those smaller counties that have even tighter budgets than we do.
yeah.
But I'm looking at the KPIs now, so key performance indicators, and there's like 3 pages of them. So there's quite a few, and to Matt's point, we're already, and to your point, already on top of most of these, so.
And those are key performance indicators for the state health department to show they are doing their job. So you'll notice a lot of those key performance indicators are, the number of counties doing X, Y, Z. We get to choose what core public health services and what KPIs we are trying to work towards addressing. We're not required to address all of them. They don't specify. We get to choose what is relevant to our community. And luckily I guess it's a terrible thing, but it's a great thing that we are in such bad shape in Delaware County that, anything we choose, we should be able to fully fit within the parameters of state's key performance indicators.
Well, the state wants to say in 2 years that they've reached success of some sort, so that's why I think these KPIs are so pathetic, really, in some respects, but, in order to get funded in 2 years, they're gonna wanna show that there's been some level of improvement, some capacity.
And locally, we are going to want to do the same. So
Absolutely, yeah.
our board is going to be working towards, one, choosing the initiatives that we're going to try to tackle, primary initiatives, secondary initiatives, and then trying to set goals and objectives and make those measurable so we can truly determine what impact we've had. Some of them, it's going to take, you know, if you're trying to take on a adult obesity program, we're not going to be able to show data of a decrease in obesity within a year, 2 years, 3 years. That's long term. But there is some data we can acquire in different programs here and there that can show progress. And I think we're going to be looking at a mixture of those.
Gotta start somewhere.
Another part of the accountability is that there will be a member of this council on your board, which beginning January 1st. I hope with his background and interest that Matt would consider that, but, we'd look forward to that participation.
I agree with
I
Bill.
look forward to it eagerly, actually.
I'm actually just shocked at these numbers, honestly, that we've transitioned from a manufacturing community to kind of like a, healthcare type community, you know, regional healthcare community, and to be that type of, have that kind of healthcare in our community, to be 82 out of 92 in infant mortality blows my mind. I'd be curious of what the other numbers are. I'm sure you got plenty of them. I'd like to look at them.
I can get those for you. Yeah, that 82 of 92 was an interesting one to me, and it was a point of contention with some of my board members who believed that to be an inaccurate number, but that number came from the state health department and their rankings.
Yeah, I did find that interesting, because there was discussion about taking in babies from other counties, because IU Paul is here,
Mhm.
neonatal unit, you know, and how that impacts those numbers potentially.
Do we have any further questions for Jamie while we've got him?
Thanks for your work on this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Moving on, we have our estimated property tax cap impact report and the estimated max levy from the auditor's office.
Bring that. That
Cool.
is what I emailed you guys.
Yes, we all received an email.
And I failed to bring that with me this morning.
Okay. Go grab that. So I believe with
Could somebody
the,
summarize it at least?
yeah, so I believe with the, estimated property tax cap impact report, we just need to make a vote on how we're going to handle that, right?
Right, like in the
So-
past, you guys would just approve it basically as is. You have the option of calling in the unit, to speak with them personally about theirs, but in the past, you've never done that. And that was, I said, if you're gonna do that, let me know so I could contact them and ask them to come in and speak with you. But if you didn't need to speak with any unit on an individual basis, then you've just kind of approved it as it's.
Yes, I'm trying to find that
Presented.
email for the exact verbiage on what we typically,
It was 8/8/23.
8/8/23.
But what are we approving, I guess, is my question.
The report itself,
Just that it's there and accurate,
I think we're just receiving it.
just receiving it?
yeah, that you've received it and looked at it and you're okay with it without needing to speak to any of those units individually.
At 8/8.
Yes.
I guess I'm gonna refer
It
to
comes
the
under,
attorney and her attorney. What do you guys think
August
about it?
2023 council meetings, what it's under.
Oh, there, I found it. Thank you. All right, so the email reads, Council, attached is the estimated property tax cap impact report and the estimated max levy for the 2023 budget year. Please review both reports, and at our August council meeting, you have two options. One, request for a taxing unit to come to the meeting for the council to discuss with them. Two, make a motion that there be no recommendation for review. In the past, the council has chosen the second option. So with that, I'll entertain a motion that there are no recommendations for review.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by, was that you, Ryan?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Eugene?
Yes.
Second by Eugene. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Blanken?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Cantz?
Yes.
Mr. Mokel?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead?
Yes.
Ms. Piper?
Yes. All right, and then we also just received that max levy report, so
Which in summary shows a slight increase.
my math was right, I think it was like a 3.5 million increase from last year. Does that sound about right?
What we said, yeah.
Let me pull up that number real quick.
Because there had been concern that there was going to be,
That it wasn't going to look so
Potential
great,
negative, yeah.
right, with some changes at the state level on property taxes and such. So the estimated 2023 max levy will be $30,813,444, which I don't have my previous budget book.
I got mine here.
You've got the max levy number?
I got my book. Check
Yeah,
mine.
it was that separate piece of paper that Donna gave us that had all the, it'd be a loose sheet of paper. Here we go.
Max levy was, proposed 23, max was $29,609,733.
We've got a little bit of an increase, so, but that'll be our magic number when we go into budget hearings, in a couple weeks, that all of the funds that fall under the max levy, so that's what County General, Hume Bridge, Board of Health, and, reassessment, those four budgets cannot exceed this 30 million.
hey, Tanya, we can get a new one of these too.
Yes. That'd be great. All right, I don't believe there's anything else we have to do with that other than just to discuss that we received that and those were the numbers. Is that correct, Tanya?
I'm sorry.
That we didn't need to make any kind of motion, that we're just saying that these are the numbers and we did receive them, so.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. All right, moving on, elected officials and department heads. Any today? None.
You know you didn't sit here all day and not talk.
Well, then get on over there, Mr. Coroner. Emily, do you mind looking to see if we had anyone sign up for a public comment? Thank you.
When I was just out there, it didn't look like there was anyone
Okay.
signed up. Gavin Green, Delaware County Coroner. Sorry that I sent you that link this morning and it wasn't working, so I will send the PDF out there. It's been great working with Jim with IT. The Delaware County Coroner's Office is trying to go paperless, so we're now on SharePoint. We're gonna try to do, all, communications with our law enforcement agencies to send it through a secured site, so we're not having to send PDFs, bogging down the email servers and everything like that. We could all collaborate, on documents and look at live data right there. And also the report that I sent, I was reviewing it with Rhiannon this morning, and she shared with me that I had an error in there. So if you did pull one up, I'm glad that didn't pull up. So currently, as of, I planned that wonderfully. Currently, we're at 350 cases for the year, or that's roughly 45 and a half cases a month, around 1.5 cases per day. So that's projected to be about 546 cases for 2023 if we go on the same path as of today. That is down from last year, which come budget season or budget hearings, I will talk to you guys about that, about talking about those numbers and reducing some. It's a good thing. I would say probably the biggest thing when it comes to cases being down is, I don't know how to politically correctly put this, the availability for Narcan and other life-saving drugs out there for overdoses, I think are helping. We do see the cases that are coming through as overdoses, the amount of Narcan doses that they get out in the field from other bystanders or family members or anything, that's, at least it's out there, so that's working too. So, that's where we're at right now. I want to give a shout out to the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. On August 1st, at approximately, well, let me back up. Thank you very much for the appropriations. We did get our radios. My radio's back there. It's working. We got it last part of July. I got a call out, and on July 31st, we were listening to our radios and we got them. And we heard about a domestic disturbance in the afternoon. And we didn't think anything of it. Rhiannon and I were listening to that. Fast forward 24 hours later, I get a call that I was dispatched out to a domestic disturbance. The sheriff's department had been out. There ended up being a barricaded subject. He did pass away. But their whole entire team was out there. It was really hot. They had, I want to say, 10 to 15 people. I had to be somewhat decon because if anybody's ever walked through pepper spray or OC spray or anything, my wife was not happy that I drove her car there. I ended up having to change at the hospital and bag up everything, all of my clothes, and I still smell it to this day. So, but shout out to them for working with that subject. They were out there for probably like 6 hours or so. So Jeff and I worked hand in hand, and it was everybody did a great job there. So any questions? I'll send this out when I polish it up. I'll send it via PDF to everyone.
I appreciate your efforts to go paperless. I know that requires a lot of extra IT assistance to get there, and I always appreciate, again, being the data nerd, one of the data nerds up here. I appreciate the pivot table, so.
It was fantastic because I didn't have to have a jump drive. I didn't have to email anything. I went from my personal computer, I put it in OneDrive, and I literally walked across the room and the file was there, and it was fantastic. So no emailing, can email that. No connecting our personal computers to the current network to then have another area for cyber attacks and all that stuff,
What
so.
about the typewriter? You gonna keep the typewriter?
We have to keep the typewriter, yes. We do.
Hey, that thing's an icon now. You can't let that go.
Yeah, we could, actually, I was thinking about selling that on eBay, probably get some money to help supplement our budgets. Go to the antique shop,
There it.
so. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin.
Any other elected officials or department heads?
I do want to make one, just reiterate, I think everybody who's elected official got a an email from Paul Brothers Foundation about the breakfast that they're gonna host for elected officials. If you are an elected official, can't go and want to send somebody else, I think they would be fine with that. They're gonna review how they work with governments and some of their oversight and stuff. So anybody who may be interested in that, I would just recommend, taking them up on that if you haven't already committed to that. They do ask, we RSVP, it's administrista, so, just FYI on that. That's it.
Okay. We had no public comment, is that correct, Emily?
Correct.
All right. Moving on to comments from council. Do we have any today?
That was my comment.
That was your comment? All right. Did you say you did,
I
Ryan? I'm
do,
sorry.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am. I just wanted to take a moment to, talk about, real fast, about our team of elected officials and volunteers from the community, that make up the core, along with, obviously, the hardworking men and women, Delaware County. A lot of what we do through boards and committees, and those boards and committees are almost exclusively volunteer unpaid. There's a couple of them that are paid, but the majority of them are unpaid. And I just want to put a reminder out to everyone who serves on these boards and committees that everyone is valued and is a valued member of the team that comes there. We've got a different mix at all times. Some people have been on those boards and committees for many years. Some people are new and coming in. Some are appointed by this council. Some are appointed by the mayor or by the commissioners. And it's important to respect everyone and treat everyone very professionally and equally, and you know, value their input to the team. It's easy when we've been doing something for a long time to kind of get in our feelings a little bit and think that maybe our way is the best way, but what we really want to be mindful of is to not ever put a volunteer who's volunteering their time to serve our community, to put them in a position that makes them feel valued, unwanted, embarrassed, or like their input isn't needed. So I think it's important for everyone to just recognize that. And I also wanted to use that time to thank all of our boards and committee volunteers for the service that you do. And, you know, pure accountability goes a long way. So, you know, give people the positive feedback. And if you recognize someone's maybe acting out of turn a little private one-on-one conversation to remind them of the reason why we're all here doing this. We're all doing this as a service. We're doing this to give back to our community. We're not doing this to rain hell on someone and make their day miserable. So, thank you to everyone who serves, and I hope everyone considers that in their future board and committee meetings. Thank you.
Any other council members with comments? Cool. All right. So one last thing I have, we do need to pick a date here soon for our pre-budget meeting. I know we will be getting updated books here in a couple days. Tomorrow, so we can stop back in here and pick up updated books. We had a little typo, so we're getting those fixed, but if you guys want to take out your calendars and take a look at what availability may look like, probably at this point, since we're getting the books tomorrow, we're looking at next week.
And how long are you thinking this pre-meeting might be?
Oh, goodness, I think last year, I think it was 2-3 hours. I think it was, I don't know, who all was in here? Emily, Tony, about 3.
I can't speak for everyone else. It doesn't matter what day it is to me, but for me, I'm requesting that we do it in the later the afternoon portion. Again, that's just me. I don't know how that fits on everyone else's calendar. I'm just making a last suggestion.
Sure. I believe we did it in the afternoon. I think we started at like 3 o'clock last year.
Yeah.
So,
The 31st, we got Ball Brothers breakfast and the Judge Wolf retirement.
yeah, we may not, well, that may be a lot for somebody to miss out on.
Well, that's what I'm just saying.
Yeah, how does, like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday look? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those 3 days. Tuesday looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm open any day, as long as it's in the late afternoon.
So our top budget, so who we want to be talking to? Congratulations, Sheriff. You make the top for both the sheriff and the jail. Commissioners will be on that list. Courts, so Emily, congratulations. And prosecutor's office. So that's kind of who we're looking at. You didn't make the cut. Congratulations. No, percentage wise, but not dollar wise. So
What time are you looking at, Ms.?
around 3. I just don't know which day would work best for the majority.
Tuesday works well for me.
Tuesday? Tuesday at 3 p.m. Tuesday, August 29th. At 3 p.m. All right. Budget, 3 p.m. All right, it's official. So again, those departments will want to see sheriff and jail, so Tony, commissioners, courts, prosecutor. Obviously, they're open to the public. Anyone can come hang out. Any other departments you want to check it out, that's fine. Like, you really miss us, coroner 911, you're welcome to pop in. So, okay, and then with that, again, budget hearings, they kick off on Wednesday, September 6th at 8:30 a.m., this room. It'll start off with our public comment. So if anyone from the public has a comment, that's from 8:30 to 9, and then we'll start into the nitty gritty at 9. Our next county council meeting is Tuesday, September 26th at 9 a.m. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes. All right, we're adjourned. See you next week.